Mic on? Is the mic on? All right, relax. Relax, relax. It's my 2 cents. I'm just dropping a little bit of info. Flip it. Debunk. Take your ass up here. All right, so I'm going to go back in on this flat earth debate with Lord Jamal. But before I go there, I'd like the last time I kind of pointed out some information that I saw that's relevant. And that was initially like the actual facts, which had the circumference of the earth, um, all the areas of the landmass, areas of water, and the distance from the Earth to the Sun. All of these things are variables in the discussion of flat Earth. And the God basically said that all these degrees are wrong. Like all this information is incorrect. Um, but he brought no proof. Um, then we went into, oh yeah, the first term examination assignment of Elijah Muhammad, where they were talking about the rain, hail, snow, earthquake, where they talked about the spinning of the earth. So that too, he said, was wrong. Mm, there's something else in this book that came to mind. Oh, the solar facts would be wrong because we don't know if the planets exist in the way that we know them. Because according to the God, he was saying that the sun and the moon is in the atmosphere of the earth. So that kind of messes up the planets because from our perspective, the sun is keeping those planets in rotation and orbit with gravity, which is another thing that the God said doesn't exist. So that's problematic. All right, but it was something else I wanted to read here. Wasn't it? All right. Oh, here we go. All right. Grade 123 lessons. This particular passage is called. Hold on, hold on. Oh, damn it! Okay, hold on. Okay, the science of Islam. Okay, the science versus the religion of Islam. Islam is a religion. It is a way of life. And so, hold on. Why did they say that? So, the the science of Islam versus the religion of Islam. Islam is a religion. It is a way of life. I think they really meant to say. I think there's a typo. I think he meant to say Islam is not a religion. I guess for us, but we are recognizing that it is religion for somebody else. But it says it's a way of life, and it is also a study of science. A science must follow in the exact scientific method in order to come to a right and exact conclusion. One must apply observation to an to extent in immeasurable laws to extract immalleable laws. The outcome must be able to be retested under similar circumstances, and the same data must come into existence. Normal scientific method principles. A religion is defined as a set of beliefs. In the case of religion, it is a belief in that which cannot be uh, detected by the senses. Now, this might be something the senses perspective because that's what the God was building on a lot, like saying that we are using our they were using their senses to recognize that it was a flat Earth because things don't seem like we're on a globe because of the way it looks and I guess the way it feels. He can't feel the spin of the Earth. He can't see the curvature. So hence flat Earth, which is just not the way to go. But it is the belief in a, a invisible God a astral invisible God. A Muslim, by definition, submits himself to Allah in the religious paradigm. Allah is not a Muslim, for he does not submit to self. So for us, Allah is not God in that sense of an omnipotent being outside of self. Allah is arm, leg, arm, head, which is self. So that's part of the principles that we live by. Is like, it's scientific. We supposed to be living on a scientific premise, meaning we use the scientific method. It must be checked and corrected, and if it's incorrect, then you must do research, study, and experiments if you need to be, and then you must be willing and ready to be checked by somebody else, another God, another scientist, to tell you, I don't know, that didn't turn out the way I thought, and it should turn out the same way when we're dealing with fact, when we're dealing with things that can be proven as a fact, and the shape of the earth is one of those things. Um, and the last time I mentioned uh, a brother from this book, uh, just a book of a collection of builds from gods all over. And Lord Jamar was he wrote the forward of this book. He actually wrote a passage in here about uh, kind of like manifest destiny, like the power of the mind, in the sense like he was kind of saying that he kind of brought into existence his acting career because he was doing the music thing, and he said he wanted to do the acting thing. He started thinking about it, manifested it in words and shit, and then all of a sudden an opportunity presented itself, which is, partially true, but it's a little bit of an exaggeration from my understanding, because you were in that wheelhouse. He was in an area and an environment and an entertainment industry where you might, because that's what happened. He ran across some people who was in a particular show that he wanted to be a part of. He did a good job in that show. Word up, he did a good job as what's that movie? Show Oz. And he said the thing that he was thinking when he was watching it is like, this is supposed to be a jail in now why in New York. So he's like, yo, um, there's no guards in there. He's like, because we all represented it in the pen, so we should be in there. And I think it brought the right levity to the show, and it was good to see us represented, although it was in jail. but um, but one of the principles that the things that I was talking about the last time was the brother firstborn Allah from Mecca, Harlem, wrote in the book. He said the principles of learning, and he put silence, listening, remembering, understanding, judgment, and action. And I was just making a point that it seemed like Lord Jamal was having a problem with accepting the reality that he could be wrong. Not that he is wrong, but he could be wrong. And he was really defensive, argumentative, dismissive of everybody else, which was out of character to the way we're supposed to be living our lives, especially when we're amongst ourselves, because that's the build I'm watching, which is a build with him and other gods. Um, so listening, paying attention with your eyes and your ears, concentration, being able to focus intensely on what's on your mind, remembering and memorizing. So he hasn't done any of the sciences to manifest any of this understanding in reference to whether or not or why he thinks the earth is flat. Now, that leads me to this passage I found when I was checking back over, because I read all these, but I don't remember all of them. But this one was nice, and this really speaks to the situation. I'm going to try to skip through some of it because it's a long passage, but it all seems to be somewhat relevant. Um, but it's called Knowledge versus Belief. Which side are you on? By Almighty Supreme Scientist from the hometown, born Mecca, Baltimore, Maryland. So, a belief. Uh, excuse me. Let me see if this will fuck up my light. Because I need some light. It's really hard. Okay. All right, good. The belief, a belief investigation of the devil's civilization may reveal a wide variety of distortions and falsehood. To the inquisitive individual who is in search of an answer to any one of life's common equations, there are many so-called solutions floating around. Around every corner, someone is professing to possess the right and exact method of action. Whether it is new or improved remedy or a well known ancient ritual, there is no shortage of ideas. What is the most reliable source of discovering the truth? How can we distinguish fact from fantasy? Those are some of the most significant questions we can ask ourselves in becoming critical thinkers. All right, in the average person, there is no difference between the concepts of belief and knowledge. Belief is the acceptance of something as true, in the absence of or in spite of proof. Knowledge is the result of knowing, a result of using the five senses: sight, touch, taste, hearing, smell, and observing. Um, However, to the average person, believe and know mean the same thing. To be sure about something. Now, this is where I think Lord Jamar may have thought he was on the right track with the bill, because something like this, when the God was saying that, if you can't, you know, yeah, if results five senses, knowledge is a result of using the five senses. So the perception here is that if you if it if you can't sense it with those five senses, then it may not be real. But that's not absolutely true. Thought may not be recognized as a sense, but you know that's part of it. The way your brain thinks, that third eye perspective. You don't actually have to see everything with your physical two eyes, uh, but you do have to be able to process the information, understand the information, and draw the correct conclusions with your brain and your processing power. So like I said, I don't think that's technically a sense, but to me, it's kind of is a sense. We use it all the time. Two, because all those senses just basically is processed by the brain. So I don't know if people recognize that as a sense, but like I said, I see it as a sense in kind of a relative sense. Um, but I think that maybe that's what Lord Jamal was thinking when he was talking about flat Earth and saying that your things don't look right or feel right, stuff like that. But your senses can lie to you. We know that. You know what I'm saying? So you can't just blindly rely on that either. So I don't know if that's where he got it from, but and I don't think that the God who wrote this intended in the way that it is read. I think he meant that thinking part too, because a lot of times the gods will say, when they say eyes, they mean the physical eyes and the third eye collectively. All right, but for those of us who understand the value of science, we understand that the above concepts are not interchangeable, and that a lack of understanding of those two concepts have been the very foundation of the original people being used as tools and slaves. All right, so let me skip past that. Um, qualified, disqualified. Okay. The nation of gods on earth who are categorically affiliated with civilized people and not Muslims and Muslim sons of the 5% discover, learn, and live the science of life, not religion of Islam. You may ask, what is the difference? The principal distinction begins with your awareness of the criteria of determining what is and is not fact. Science is based on one's observations, involves experimentation, and requires evaluation of all evidence before qualifying or disqualifying a hypothesis and arriving at a conclusion. So these are the things that the God just wasn't doing. It's obvious because if you did those things, your bill would be way more sharper. You feel what I'm saying? You would be able to explain that shit like real simple. Like, all right, God's flat Earth. Let me break it down. We should be confused, trying to figure out like, God damn, we behind the gospel. But no, that's not what's going down. And what's really problematic, and I will hope that the God get a hold of it, because it's not going to look good and it's not going to turn out right the more you fight this, the fact that you're wrong, for all intents and purposes. Uh, from my assumption, people who know the science say you're absolutely wrong. I'm saying it looks like you're wrong. I don't absolutely have the understanding to be able to confirm that you're wrong. But like this thing just recently happened. So it all started. Well, I heard about it that Lord Jamal was a flat earther when he was on Godfrey's podcast, and after he was on Godfrey's podcast, initially kind of having a debate with the brother right here, the big brother in the white shirt, who kind of sparked it, and they was going back and forth a little bit, but the guy would never let the big brother in the white shirt get a word in edgewise, and the brother said he didn't even really know how to debate that issue because he didn't know the science, but he felt that Lord Jamal was wrong. Godfrey was just kind of really, and Godfrey was, in my opinion, he was being a good friend to the God. He was really trying to, you know, play both sides to a degree or play no side, kind of play in the middle. But every time the God felt like, I guess he was pinned against something, then Godfrey would help him out. The same thing happened when after Lord Jamal did his little spill and nobody was there to challenge him, and he just ran on and started talking stuff about flat earth. And so he felt confident that he knew what he was doing. So confident that, let me see. Well, they had it on here. I can't find it. I think I might have passed already. But he said he would challenge Neil deGrasse Tyson. Now here's a guy who's tops in his field of study, and you just gonna blatantly just think that you can just come in and just challenge him, and you're gonna win this battle, and it's all good, and that's disrespectful. You know what I'm saying, to knowledge in general. You know what I'm saying, and you know that. You know you don't know enough science to debate that brother and come out on top. You know, but he was arrogant. So that's what the guy Godfrey and them explaining what's happening now, because now Lord Jamal is saying that Godfrey set him up because they couldn't get Neil deGrasse Tyson, and it was really fucked up why they went to the brother Professor Dave, who's a white guy, because I don't think it should matter, but the big brother who was trying to show the God some love in the white shirt said that he wanted to let that debate happen. He was trying to get Neil deGrasse Tyson. He actually know the co-host, the guy who hosts a podcast with Tyson, and he was like, yo, I could probably get him on. So he's going to get him on to debate the God. But he was jammed up, and he had a time, and it was going to be a while. So the dude in the white shirt, big bro, came across Professor Dave's rebuttal and reaction to Lord Jamal's original bill on the Godfrey podcast about flat Earth, and so he was, you know, throwing it all under the bus, calling them all types of names and stupid and shit like that on his own platform. So then when the bro saw it, he's like, well, there's a guy who seemed to know what he's talking about, and so he asked him if he would come on, and this is where they got him.
To figure ourselves out regardless of what it is. Yeah. So I was saying, so now he said, he goes, when we bring Dave on, Dave's like, hell yeah, I want to do this. I'm like, this is gonna be great. As soon as he gets on, I'm thinking it's gonna be good. He goes, fuck Professor Dave. Do we have that? We're gonna show.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem. So if you watch, so this is what
events that I'm very excited to share with you today, so grab some popcorn and enjoy. If you recall, Godfrey was the host, Lord Jamar was a guest, and then there was this third fellow. His name is Dante Nero, and after I posted my reaction video, he reached out to me by email. He told me that he's a big fan of the channel, and that the episode I reacted to was frustrating for him because he knew that Jamar had no idea what he was talking about, but he didn't have the tools necessary to combat his script in real time. He expressed interest in having me on Godfrey's show via Zoom to have a conversation with Lord Jamar. Now, upon hearing this request, guest, I was immediately aware that if I agreed to do that, it would be a total shit show. I am intimately familiar with people like Lord Jamar. He's a delusional narcissist and complete douchebag whose entire identity revolves around his perceived intellectual superiority over the rest of humanity, despite being a willfully ignorant, clueless asshat. Basically, he's a flat earther. He is 100% impervious to even the most basic facts and logic, and he will not listen to a word I have to say, no matter how obviously correct I am. But when has that ever stopped me before? So I agreed to go on the show. Now, I will say that I went into this with the intention of remaining relatively cordial.
Note that, because the way Professor Dave was just talking is the way he talked to all flat earthers. But he said that since I guess this is a new cat, he just came across, new platform. He said, I'm going to come in cordial until because he predicted and assumed from always debating with flat earthers that this is going to be argumentative and he won't listen to any reason. And
as long as possible. But Jamar began insulting me before I was even introduced, so I decided to just lace into him from the first moment. Even though my volume was dramatically lower than theirs, even though he was talking over me constantly.
Right. And so throughout the whole thing, Dave could barely get a word in. I don't know about the mic thing. I guess that's something he would understand if that was true and his mic was down low. It seemed to me like Godfrey was always trying to protect Lord Jamal from, I don't know, like facing the truth that Dave was spitting. And then, let's see, did he show that? Because I want to.
Even though there was barely any attempt by Godfrey to moderate him so that I could get equal speaking time, I still took a big steamy dump all over him and made him look dumber than rocks in front of his own audience. So much so, in fact, that after less than 20 minutes of interacting, Jamar threatened to leave the studio if I wasn't cut out of the feed. And then, mere minutes after the live stream was posted to Godfrey's channel, it was pulled. Undoubtedly because Jamar told Godfrey to pull it, since he knew how unbelievably stupid he looked.
Boom. All right. So that's messed up. Because it looks that obvious. It looks like that. It looks like, okay, you got a little pissy fit because you were wrong. And then, you told your bro, like, man, take that shit down, man. So let's see what happened. Because Godfrey says what happened. Because now the God is all down his throat. That's supposed to be your bro, man.
Know this. And watch, it was very strange, and I was like, it kind of threw me off. All right, here we go.
Dave, here's my thing, man. Let me fuck Professor Dave before he even get here. You know why? When it comes to hip hop, right? Came on as a guest. Jamal came on as a guest. Views, on his side.
Okay, because that fucks with my shit, viral and shit. And then he was like, "Yo, take this dude." Was respectful to his podcast. And, and then when, when they were going back and forth, Dave didn't stand down. He was like, no, you don't know what the fuck you talking about. And I was like, okay, this is going to be good. Yeah. And it got a little viral. It got a little viral and shit. And then he was like, yo, take this dude off. After that happened, he was like, yo, yeah, man, don't show that shit. Don't show the episode. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because that fucks with my shit. Yeah. That fucks my...
Taking bread out your bro pocket. Because you still came out on top. As far as you were wrong about the flat earth, but you didn't lose because the other brother didn't get to speak. And you just kind of ran the whole shit. And then you cut him off. So there was no winner, no loser. But either way, you still look bad. You're going to look bad if you take it off or not. It's best to just leave it there.
My money up, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't show it, because we cut it off right away, too. Like, I say, oh, this is going to be cool. Yeah. It happens, and I said I won't show it. Yeah. As a friend, I won't do it. I did not show it. Yeah. And that cuts into my shit. Yeah. And then everybody's like, yo.
Godfrey didn't have an episode to put up. And then... The other episode, because Dave recorded on his side, Dave got 500,000 views on his side for putting.
So, Professor Dave was recording it because he knew that Well, he felt like that was going to happen, and then that happened, so that he can validate what happened. So maybe they didn't suspect that, and when he erased it, but so the fact that he recorded it, it'd have been best if you left it, as opposed to just say I wasn't ready. I need to come back. I need to give some more. All right, you came a little hard. Show the bro some respect. Like, all right, you came good, and then come back, and then you save face that way. All you got to do is admit when you're wrong, and then you can save face. All right, so that's where we at with it. I just thought that was kind of, come on, God. But anyway, so I showed this proof the last time. For me, this is proof for me. Let me flip this around. Matter of fact, I'll go to the moon. All right, so I mean the moon, the Earth.
First 25 seconds, it looked like everything is under control.
That's the speed.
And after 34 seconds, I hit Mach 1, and I broke the speed of sound.
Boom. So that was the guy who did a jump from 127,000 feet in the air. So that was like the longest free fall at that time. And then I'm looking around and come find out another dude went higher than him. He went to, I think, 135,000 feet. And his thing, the apparatus that they used to get him up there, the other guy was in like a capsule, almost like the tip of a spaceship. So he was encased and everything, had his little suit on, and he had all these little mechanisms to pull out, to open the door and get out, and so that was cool. But this guy, he was literally strapped to the balloon with no covering. No covering. He was just hanging off of the balloon like that. You see his body like just hanging there. If the thing would have fell early, he still had a parachute, so it didn't matter. But good God! So there he goes. He's dropped 135,000 feet in the air. Boom. Let's look.
Now this is Lord. We just heard the boom from him coming down. He's at full altitude.
We're about to do the release.
As Alan calmly floats past the point.
So boom. That's proof. Now I'll just go in case one of these things come up in the debate. So this is a continuation of the debate that I was watching when Lord Jamal was building with a couple gods, and he was and this was 3 years before this Professor Dave stuff, and he was kind of doing the same thing, like cutting people's build, being disrespectful, being loud, being aggressive, not listening to the other person's point of view, being dismissive of it, like just blatantly saying that they wrong and he's right. That's it. That's the end of the story. But at the same time, asking for respect. But here we go. Flip that again. I don't want to block it. That's good.
That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. You're sounding, I don't want to say the word, but please, John.
The reason why we talking about gravity, the brother is trying to point out density.
I'm trying to deal with density. Now,
That doesn't have
you use the
anything
word
to do with
density,
density,
brother.
I'm saying if something is heavier than the medium it's in, it's gonna sink.
Could you
If
prove
it's
it?
lighter, it's gonna rise. Why do you think bubbles rise?
And the last time, I was cutting their build a lot, and I think I should be able to listen a little bit more. But the whole point is to tap in with a little commentary here and there. But
In water, and a rock would fall because the bubble is lighter than the density of the medium it's in. That's it.
but you're still not
It's very simple.
It's called a vector. all forces have a
Here we
numerical
go.
value, which is called a
So listen, brother,
vector.
why doesn't that vector, why doesn't that vector take that bubble downward?
What is
Wait, real
it?
quick.
What's a vector?
Why doesn't
It's
that
called a
vector take a
vector.
bubble downward?
So,
Brother, why
listen.
doesn't that vector take the bubble downward then?
Right.
In water. Why does it take it downward? Why does it take it up?
Because what?
Because you're talking about something that's light. You're talking about something that's moving through water. We're talking about outside of water, guys.
But gravity stops working.
What about when water evaporates
Excellent
into
point,
the air?
bro.
What happens to it? Why does it evaporate?
And then, no, hold on, God. Let's stay there. It evaporates, and then what happens? When it
Whoa,
gets
hold up. No. Don't talk about and then what happens.
Yeah.
Why does it evaporate? It evaporates because it becomes lighter than air.
Does it
It
come back
becomes
down?
lighter than air. That's why it evaporates.
The sun evaporates the water. It turns to vapor. It goes in the air, seeds, clouds, and the whole process continues. The rain comes down, feeds the soil, feeds. Come on, bro.
Evaporates.
What
And
pulls
so
it back
if there was gravity, it shouldn't be able to.
It shouldn't be able to go
escape
back up.
gravity.
No, gravity is what pulls it back down.
You're
talking about
That's
two
a
different
good-
things. You're talking about
Hold
two.
on,
Gravity
brother.
pulls it back
That's a
up.
good point.
How does it go
No,
up
we're
in the
not.
first place then if there's gravity?
That's a good point Lord Jamal just made.
Let's deal with another question.
Of course it
Flat
is.
earthers.
You see
Gentlemen, I
how they're
wanna know-
running off now to something
No,
else.
He's gonna
Let's
do it
do
with
that.
the pseudo
Let's
science.
do
Alright,
that.
heavier
Okay, now if we're on a spinning ball, say we're on a plane, right?
Right.
If it is a ball, how come the plane doesn't have to dip its nose the whole time while it's flying as to not fly off into space? And when it's time for it to land, how the fuck is it landing on a moving target? Go ahead.
How is it spinning
one
that
more
fast?
thing. One more thing.
Moving on a moving target.
Also, if this shit is spinning, right?
If it's spinning
how
at
come I
1,037 and
I
third,
can't hover for an hour and come down somewhere else and be in another place?
All right. So we dealt with that the last time. The reason why the plane can land on what you perceive as a moving target is because the target isn't moving relative to the plane. The target is moving, but the plane and the target, the land that it's landing on, is moving equally the same way, except for the plane is in motion, so that's why it has to put its flaps up, push the engine in reverse to try to slow it down because it's going at a particular speed. But it slows itself down as it comes to its descent. You know what I'm saying? Because as it has to keep up a certain speed to keep in the air. And I don't know all the details of those math to break that down, but I know that's how it works. And that's the same reason why you can't jump in the sky and come down in a different place, because everything, okay, is moving. The air is moving. You and the air are still in the same place when the earth moves. You move with the earth. I mean, I said it like the last time he was building constantly. He kept bringing up these points, which lead to the same answer, but he don't want to hear the answer. And him and the God reality, because they controlling the dialogue and the conversation. They keep asking questions. They won't let nobody ask them questions. They won't have any answers, and they need these answers to these questions. But when you give them the answer, like when the God was saying vector, he's like, oh, like, yo, what are you doing that for? Didn't even let the other gods ask him, well, what is vector? You don't even know what it is, and you dismissed it. So let me see. Let me see what the fuck it is. Because I don't know what vector got to do with gravity and buoyancy versus destiny. Density. Is that what he said? Density. Mathematics vector is a term that refers to the quantities that cannot be expressed by a single number, a scale, or to elements of some vector spaces. They have to be expressed by magnitude and direction. Okay. Historically, vectors were introduced in geometry and quantities that have both a magnitude and a direction, such as displacement forces and velocity. Okay, such qualities are representative of geometric vectors in the same way as distance measures and time is represented by real numbers. I know they use that in flying. Let me see something. Let's see if we can get a short kind of video explanation. Whoops. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This 3 minutes.
In today's video, we're going to look at the difference between scalar and vector quantities, which can also be called scalars and vectors. Scalars are physical quantities that only have a magnitude, but no direction. And remember, magnitude is just another way of saying size, and so it can be measured with a numerical value. For example, if a car travels at 22 meters per second, 22 would be the magnitude of the speed. And because speed by itself doesn't have a direction, we consider it a scalar quantity. Other scalar quantities include things like distance, mass, temperature, and time, although there are loads more. Vectors, on the other hand, have both a magnitude and a direction. These include things like velocity, displacement, acceleration, force, and momentum. We take a closer look at each of these quantities in other videos though, so don't worry if you're not sure what any of them are just yet.
Okay, I get what the God was talking about. Okay, so what he's saying, the God that was talking about vectors, he's saying that those are the principles that are derived when it comes to gravity, because he was talking about buoyancy and density, and he was talking about gravity, and he was saying that so these things are affected or processes that you go through when you're dealing with the gravity and the force of gravity. You know, you will deal with the magnitude, something with magnitude and direction, because magnitude being, like you said, size of something. So the size of something, the weight, the mass of it, you know, like all these different scalars, you know, are variables when it comes to trying to understand the gravity of something. But with gravity, you need direction. And the direction of gravity is to push everything to the center of the earth. And for us, that means that things will be pushed down from our perspective. So, yeah, I get what he was saying, but he didn't get to go into why he was saying it and what it was, how it was relevant specifically to the conversation that they were having. All right, let's go back. Let's see what's cracking.
Because the earth should be spinning under me, and don't tell me that the atmosphere is spinning with it, because I'd have to be an enclosure for that to happen. And go.
You are enclosed, God. You are enclosed in the atmosphere. It's just it goes up higher to a certain degree. It gets thinner as it goes up, but it goes all way to the ground. It is a part of your environment. You are enclosed. It's like I said, it's like you are literally an air fish. Everywhere around you is air. That's why you can just breathe. You know what I'm saying? It's just there. And it's in the atmosphere. And the gravity. So that if you don't believe the gravity, then that kind of messes it up. So you won't ever understand it and ever be able to confirm it if you won't accept gravity. So I don't know if he's ever going to get there, but yeah.
And I can answer the question. Absolutely. Because the earth is moving, that 1,137 1/3 miles per hour is moving at rotational velocity. The earth is makes one rotation every 24 hours. The earth is moving very, very slow. This is a large, massive body of mass and density in earth and rock moving very slowly.
Moving still say that it's
very
you
slowly.
You're still calling that slow. You're saying 1,037 is slow, God?
To your point, if we were on planes,
slow,
when we are
God.
on a plane and
When
all
it's
of
that big, God, it's slow.
if the earth is flat,
Hold on, Vine. Divine in the building. Shout out to
pilots
Divine.
constantly be turning while they're flying the plane. If you go in the cockpit, you can see those steering wheels are straight as an arrow because they go straight.
Right, because we're on a
flying
safe,
over a plane.
because you're an airplane. Why don't you look up the word plane, God? What does plane mean? A plane?
God, come on, God. See this? Plane and airplane are two different things. Plane is a representation. I think it's a mathematical representation of a straight and the flat plane, right? At least that's what we think. But I don't even think that's what it is. I don't know if it has to be flat. It'll be flat. Plane also could be just a perception of how people say it's an open plane. But it could be hilly or it could have a slope of some sort. From my understanding, let's see, plane and plane. Okay, now we gotta look up words and shit. All right. Difference between plane and no, I ain't gonna do that. That's all right. I ain't gonna do that because that ain't gonna come out right. Let's see, plane. Because I know it's gonna tell you easy the difference between a plane and an airplane. Okay, plane. All right, plane. A main supporting surface of one of the main supporting surfaces of an airplane. One of the main supporting surfaces, which is the plane of the wings, which is flat, straight out, right? I'm assuming that's what they mean. A surface in which any 2 points are chosen, a straight line joining them lies whirly in that surface. A flat, level surface. Okay, so that is a plane. A level of existence and consciousness and development. Plane, smooth, even, level. The work of a plane. Okay. All right. So yeah, that's what a plane is. But that's the look. Then we got to do that. We put the air in front of it. A-R. What we got now? Okay. It's a machine. I don't know what you can't just make no correlation between the word. I mean, you can, but
Plane is a straight line, dog.
He's regurgitating the cold message. Yeah. It's the same information.
Yeah, but y'all tell me
he
off
gave
the mic.
information of like the planet Earth, because he believes in the globe. He just said, why doesn't a pilot have to do? And that's what we're saying. They only have to fly straight because it's a flat plane. They use
I'm
the
saying if it
artificial
was a
horizon
globe,
in
you'd
the
have to
cockpit.
dip your fucking nose the whole time, and they don't do that.
You don't have to dip your nose the whole time, but they do correct for the curvature. It is a slight correction. The earth, again, like the God is saying, is massive. I'm telling you, every time, and the globers who be battling the flat earthers always say, they think of it like a literal ball. Like the ball they look at, and they look at it and think to themselves, man, if a person was on there, you would feel that curve. You would need to be bigger, taller, giant size to feel the curve of the earth. We are too small. We are like a microbe on an actual like basketball. What's the smallest thing? Well, the smallest thing I'm gonna say it's not a flea. Maybe like a flea. If a flea was on a basketball, most of the time that the flea is walking, it would feel like that it's on a flat plane. But since we are on the earth and gravity, although fleas can walk upside down and everything, so they can do that. But if the flea couldn't attach to the ball like that and walk upside down, it would fall off of the side, but not because because the ball is on the earth and the gravity on the earth is strong and pushing the flea off. But as far as us on earth, the reason why everything stays because gravity keeps us on the earth and the atmosphere keeps everything from flying out and all that shit. I don't. Damn. Okay, let's go. Got to make it 40
because
minutes.
it is not a fucking ball.
So God, why do we all see the same face of the moon, man?
Why do we all see the same face of the moon?
What does that have to do with anything?
That has nothing to do with anything.
It has everything to do with everything.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
If we were on a flat earth, everybody would see the moon a different way. Because you can't see the same face of an object if you're on one side and I'm on the other side.
If it was a flat earth, the people in the most center would see mostly the bottom of it. The people out either to the left or the right, or since it's a circle, or the east, west, north, south, whatever perspective you want to do. I don't know how they would do it on the flat earth. But anybody away from would see a different side and a portion of the bottom. He's right. You would see it different. The reason why we see the same because the moon is way far away and it spins with us and it keeps that one face. I don't think the moon is rotating itself. It's rotating around us, but it itself is not rotating. And that's why we only see that one blank, because one face, because we are rotating.
If the earth was flat, we would all see a different face of the moon, a different shape at different times. But instead, no matter where you are on this planet, you see one face of the moon.
Because you're assuming that the moon is a sphere. Number one,
look at it and see
instead of no, it could be a disc.
You can see it's round.
It's a disc. You don't know if it's a sphere. All you know is it's round. Now here's my point when people say shit like this, right? Now listen to this, okay? Now this is why I say so the fuck what, even if it is round, right? Here's why I say so the fuck what, right? Think of a pool table, right?
Right.
And all the balls on a pool table, right? All the balls on a pool table are round. If I'm standing on the pool table, I'm looking out. All the balls are round. Does that mean that the fucking pool table is round?
God, is that your science? Is that your science?
Does that mean assume that what I'm standing?
Come on, God. Come on, man. Because this shit can be proven. So even you just don't believe in science because how did you think that the people came up with this information? Did you think people flew to the moon? People knew the shape of the earth without leaving the earth because there are ways to measure. So matter of fact, what do we study? Mathematics. Mathematics isn't arithmetic. Arithmetic is the addition, the subtraction, multiplication, and principles within algebra and trigonometry and geometry when you add, multiply, subtract, divide, and all that stuff. But mathematics is all of the sciences. Mathematics is the universal principle of all things in existence, which means all things can be understood in a scientific way. You just got to break it down. So you're not even trying. The fact that you would go to some sort of example of we're not on a pool table and the moon is not a pool ball. So that metaphor, analogy, or example don't work. There are ways that you can either prove or disprove the shape of the moon, but that's not one. That's not one.
On is also round just because everything I look out and see is round? That's the fucking logic that y'all come with when you say that.
Oh God, the science is by using
Nah, sir, you really didn't make my point. That was retarded.
Peace, Divine is in the building.
Same doctrine.
Shout out to Divine.
It is.
Divine. Divine Truth.
And man, Kevin,
what up, Divine?
What's good, man? What's good?
Peace.
Hey, yo. Hey, God. What I would like to know is you traveled the world. You traveled the world, Lord.
True indeed.
All right. Where's the edge?
Okay, here we go with this edge shit, right? First of all, they don't allow you to go to the edge. Where the edge is what's called Antarctica. Antarctica is really, there is no South Pole. Really, it's a ring that circumvents basically around our known world.
Now, Cipher, so let's do that one. So now, yeah. So now I get the fuck with the dudes. All right, so let me just go straight to the shit. Let's see if it come up when I do the TFT. There we go. You know what? No. I know what I did. Hold on. Where's the I got it. I think this is
Notion that flat earthers understand. Hey everyone, remember my video from a few months ago about the big Antarctica trip to check for the 24-hour sun? Well, that trip did indeed take place with several flat earthers in attendance, and the aftermath has been complete chaos. Let me fill you in on what happened down there and what's been going on since then. Once again, the whole point of the trip was to document the 24-hour sun that flat earthers have said for years doesn't exist in the southern hemisphere, and it will surprise absolutely none of you that they saw exactly that.
Because there cannot be a 24-hour sun on a flat earth, like the God just said, with a not a south, but a Antarctica ring around the edge that you can't go to because they won't let you go. So they disproved that by going there, first thing. And then last time I did my video, you can see they had a 24-hour and a camera that you can spin 360 around. There's no ice wall. And there's no way in hell you could be anywhere in Antarctica on a flat earth and not see that tall ice wall. So that's ridiculous. So 24-hour sun. But of course, they tried to disprove it in 1,000,001 ways. Let's see if we can watch a couple of them.
They were down there for 4 days, and the sun was circling above them in the clear sky the entire time, just like anyone who isn't a complete moron knew was going to.
Mind you, when they went down there, they filmed themselves from wherever they came from all the way to Antarctica. And I think they had a layover in Chile or something like that, and then they got on another plane, but they filmed everything. And they took flat earthers to verify so everybody and people could track their flight. So they definitely went to what we perceive to be as Antarctica on the South Pole. But that disproves, I don't know what his explanation would be to that.
To happen. This was first documented in a live stream mere hours after they arrived on site. Let's check out some highlights from that live stream to kick things off.
And there you go, everyone. It's there's the sun in all of its glory right there over the Ellsworth Mountains. So here we go. Keep in mind, you can see everybody's cameras out, but The sun is exactly where the globe predicted it would be. Not only is it midnight here, but you are actually looking due south. So the sun is still up, and it is to the south of us.
There you go, flat earthers. Case closed. The sun is directly overhead at midnight, illuminating everything, when you think it should be all the way on the other side of the pizza land, leaving them in total darkness. So you're wrong, and the earth isn't flat. Of course, all flat earthers watching the live stream immediately accepted defeat and abandoned their cult of delusions to become normal contributing members of society. The end. I'm just kidding. It's going to be a non-stop train wreck of reality denial and coping mechanisms for the rest of the video. But what about the flat earthers in attendance? What do they have to say? Let's start with Jaron.
Sometimes you are wrong in life. And I thought that there was no 24-hour sun. In fact, I was pretty sure of it. But I respect Will Duffy for being a stand-up guy, at least in the way that he...
All right, so I ain't going to watch all that, but I was definitely just checking out that. That's Professor Dave Explains, Flat Earth for having a meltdown over the Antarctic trip, 24-hour sun. All right, that, if you, and then go to TFE or put in TFE or The Final Experiment in YouTube and go to Will Duffy's page called The Final Experiment. It's a page. And he got all the stuff from the beginning, from the moment that he offered the trip, all the way up to the point of the trip, after the trip, and he's still posting up until today because they still not accepting the truth. They are trying their motherfucking best to shoehorn something into this perspective because one guy said that he figured it out. This dude is in a room with a flat earth map and he put some plastic dome over it and he's shining the flashlight down in it and shit and he's looking at the reflection of the light off of the dome and coming up with stuff, you know, like these are not real science experiments, man, but that's cool. It's cool, but it didn't prove anything. But what's interesting is this brother here, Jaron. So Jaron went, and he was one of the very few that accepted the trip of the big flat earthers. These flat earthers are big, and they making big money on YouTube. And he had a large following, and he was one of the only ones with a real large following that would go. And he disproved flat earth himself before he even went on this trip. So he knew what he was going to see. He already knew. But when he went down there, he had no more, he couldn't deny it anymore because he had literally saw it with his eyes. Now, he could have tried to lie and make up something because the other guy who went down there and he's a flat earther. He came back. Now he's talking about they wouldn't let him get on the internet and use the Wi-Fi. And I don't know what the hell that got to do with anything. But either way, so Jaron came back and he's no longer a flat earther. He said, well, apparently the last check I saw said he's no longer a flat earther and he still got a pretty good following. And that's what I thought. I said, that would be a good transition if you go down there, you get the trip. It's a once in a lifetime thing. You see it. It's amazing down. Boom. You make the adjustment and the change. People are not going to hate on you except the flat earthers who were hating on them heavy. But they prove it themselves most of the time. Now, Jaron did an experiment where he, let me see if this is it in here? Oh, yeah, no. Well, he did an experiment where come on, Mike. All right, so he did an experiment where he took a piece of cardboard and he put a hole in it, and he had a camera a far distance away, like a mile or a couple miles away, and he had a flashlight or somebody with a flashlight at the other end. And the point was to put the camera so it lines up with the hole, and if the earth is flat, then the person should be able to keep the flashlight at the same level of the camera, and it should shine right through the hole. But that's not what happened. The curve manifested itself because he needed to lift the light higher to get it to go into the hole. Boom. Curvature proof. And when he saw that, he was like, interesting. He didn't do anything with it. He just went over something else. Another brother, flat earther, said that there's no spin. And he was like, man, you can predict the spin. They got a device, some sort of gyroscopy thing, cost 20 G's. And if you had that, that will prove it. If you got that, it will be really exact and right on the point, on the mark of where it should be as far as measurements. And so he knew all about the thing and everything, the flat Earth dude. And so he didn't. I don't know if he had the money or he wasn't gonna buy it, but somebody in the group of flat earthers ponied up to 20 G's, brought the device, they turn it on, and they get the measurements, 15-degree tilt or something, or spin, 15 degrees something for the spin. I can't remember what the measurement was, but it proved a spin. And he, just like the other guy, was like, interesting. And then he kept trying other stuff. And so that's what they're doing. They keep trying to make their point fit. And no matter what you say, holds. You know, you can't do that, man. You know, science is a thing. For a thing. Like I was telling somebody else I was talking to about flowers, like, no, if you go to a doctor, you don't want that doctor to believe, and you need heart surgery, you don't want him to believe he know how to do it because he watched some videos on YouTube. He heard another doctor explain how it's done. He read a book on it. You need to know that he know how to do it. You wouldn't want to be the first patient that he tried out on, right? Kind of like a tattoo artist. I mean, people want the tattoo artist to be the first person. You know what I'm saying? You don't want that. You need the person to have that knowledge and understand, especially when it's something that's important to you. Especially your life. Under the knife with a surgeon. So he need to have did the science. They need to have practiced this and seen that it worked before they do it on me. You feel what I'm saying? I know that's how you feel. You want to live. Right? Science is the same way. You just can't flippantly say stuff and imagine it to be. And just because conspiracies exist, people lie. Yes, government people lie. All types of people lie. They hiding stuff. Yes, they are. But until you can validate and prove exactly what it is, you don't just put stuff in there and run with it. You know what I'm saying? But let me go back to the guy, because I want to get through this 20 minutes. I'm still running behind. I gotta go pick up my daughter in a minute from work. But let's see. So I said I wanted to get 40 minutes into it. I don't know if I'm gonna make it 40. I might kick it at 30, at the 30-minute mark, and then I'll try to kick it like maybe when my next day off, I'll do like a 4 hour. I don't know. I'm gonna try to do the second one. I'll probably wait till I do the third one since this is so short, and then I'll throw them up. I haven't figured out how to take them off my Facebook and put them on the YouTube yet, so I'm working on that.
So basically, it's a 300 to 400 high ice wall that holds in our waters.
300 to 400. What is 300 to 400? What?
It is. It's right.
Divine Truth.
And man, Kevin,
what up, Divine?
What's good, man? What's good?
Peace.
Hey, yo.
So
hey, God. What I would like to know is you traveled the world. You traveled the world, Lord.
True indeed.
I remember when I came up with that attribute, the God was like, divine. He's like, everybody be using divine. And I ain't even think. Actually, I didn't want it because I thought people would think about it like you think you smooth or some shit like that. But to me, it was just divine rule of law. I'm living by the divine rule of the law. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to try to live that divine life. Divinity is perfection. Perfection isn't all good. Perfection is the balance between negative and positive. I keep it with me all the time. You know what I'm saying? So that's divine. So, but it is real carbon.
Where's the edge?
Okay, here we go with this edge shit, right? First of all, they don't allow you to go to the edge. Where the edge is what's called Antarctica. Antarctica is really, there is no South Pole. Really, it's a ring that circumvents basically around our known world. So basically, it's a 300 to 400 high ice wall that holds in our waters, God.
He didn't say the measurement. He didn't say feet, miles. So 300 to 400, whatever, you should be able to see it. So when they went to Antarctica, they should have seen that ice wall. That's higher than the mountains that they saw. So you should see it over the mountains. Come on, God. Now, Cipher.
Every water, all water needs a container, God. Okay.
Always level.
And a water
You ain't
always
never gonna
finds
see
its
water flow
what?
uphill or
It's
nothing like
level.
that.
Okay.
It's in a container, God. The water on the earth is in a container. The oceans are deep. It's a cavity in the planet of the landmass. The land that we live on is above that sea level. So it's in a cavity, but it's still on a ball-shaped thing. And then you won't believe gravity, so I know it seems a little amazing that it can, because that's one of the things that Lord Jamal wanted, and a lot of flat earthers want this. They want a model. They want us to build a globe, Earth, a model of an Earth, to scale size down, that we can put water on and spin, and the water won't fall off, so that they validate that. See, that's an impossibility on the planet, because you're on the planet with the gravity. You know what I'm saying? So it's obviously going to fall off the thing. But if you can, like I said, I don't even know if this is possible, but you would have to put the ball in a vacuum sealed container. Then you would have to give them time to suck out the air to mimic the universe, with no air and shit. And then you would have to keep the water in place with a covering, and then you would have to get that scaled Earth up to the speed necessary to mimic the speed of the Earth, right? And it wouldn't be the same speed of the Earth, because that would be a small thing. So it would have to spin way faster than the 1,000 miles that the big, massive Earth is spinning. And that's why that experiment is probably impossible. I don't think you could spin it that fast. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't. But I told him the experiment to use is a kind of elementary school experiment. All you got to do, God, is fill up a bucket with water, right? And give it a little start, or if you're strong, just spin it real fast. And as you go up overhead, like a real straight up arc, the water will not fall down on you, because the force will be pushing the water to the back. That is similar to what we're going through, but it's pushing to the core, to the center. But then you got to believe that there's a molten, but since you don't believe that the Earth is round, so in a flat Earth, there will be no molten middle that will produce a magnetic attraction that will pull everything. So you will never accept the reality of what is, because you have dismissed principles that you need to understand and know what is. So I don't know what to do with that.
Okay. Something cannot find its level on a curved surface. Okay, that's number one. Levels wouldn't even exist if we lived on a curved surface. So where is the edge? It's in Antarctica. And if you look up the Antarctica Treaty, they made a treaty where all nations made it so nobody can go there.
That's not true. That's not true. Now, Cipher, God, research.
Okay. Nobody's allowed to go there except
they got cruises going to Antarctica. They got people going to cruises to Antarctica. Yeah. They got people that stay down there studying all the time. Yep. So yeah, people down there, man. And they're not all government. You can go on your own. I didn't know that part. I thought that you had to prove. But if you wanted to, they would probably urge you not to. But people have done it. Went and explored Antarctica on their own. Dangerous, bro. I wouldn't do it, but we can go. You can definitely go. It costs a lot, because for them people to go down there for their final experience, it's like 33 G's a person. God damn. So you can go, and you might got the money, God. So I would say go.
Certain controlled
aspects.
Controlled aspects. You can go to Antarctica and shit like that.
Look up the Antarctic.
Here's another question. If there's a South Pole,
Look up that wall he talking about. Look up the what? What's it called?
The ice wall.
The Antarctic Treaty.
Just ask us. You know what I mean? Then come on.
You can Google it. The Antarctic Treaty.
Makes absolutely no sense.
why would it make no sense, God?
There are cruises that go to Antarctica.
I just want to hear everybody.
Right.
Bro, we just said it. If they go on a controlled aspect, you can't walk around Antarctica.
No, they don't go on the control. They don't go with the government. No leads, no control. It's just a cruise. Now, obviously, yes, they don't go deep into Antarctica because they're not equipped. They just go on to touch foot on the ice. You know what I'm saying? That's where they're going. It's the reason why people don't go is because it's dangerous. There's nothing there. There's no hotels. There's no, airport. There's no hangout spot. It's cold as shit. And I just found out something because I was wondering, like, why couldn't they just fly a plane to prove flat earthers? Fly people, because one of flat earthers said, well, get in a plane and fly 2 planes around Antarctica and see where they meet. I mean, first of all, that's a long-ass flight. The plane, it's dangerous, I'm thinking, because I'm thinking they wouldn't have enough fuel. That seemed like a long trip, and they might crash into each other, all types of shit. But I was like, couldn't you just fly a plane straight across the continent so you'll see the whole continent? But he said, no, you can't do that. Well, you could, but they tend not to do that, but because of storms and shit. And I can believe that, deep in the middle of it. But, I mean, I don't know. Let's see, God.
Look up the Antarctic Treaty. So you can't even have
one at a time. One at a time. All right, who's building? Which one?
What I'm about it makes no sense, huh?
Look how the white man has merchandised everything. If there was an edge, if there was a coast, look how there's a coast. There's hotels along every coast. If there was an edge, if there was something where you could go to the edge, you don't think there would be casinos along that edge?
Cipher.
All right, hold on, God. I get the point the God's making. Yeah, if they thought they could make some bread off of it and show you and that's my thing is like the flat earthers keep saying they trying to keep the earth being flat a secret. Why? What's the big secret for? You know what I'm saying? Like, why put us through this why do all this fake math and fake spaceships, space shuttles, moon landings, and all that shit? For what? What's the big secret? I mean, what's going to happen if we know that we living on a flat earth and we in a dome? I think that'll straighten motherfuckers up. I think if them people in power, if they knew we were on a dome like that, they would tell us. They'd be like, look here, ain't no escape. Y'all niggas can't go nowhere. Yo, we can't go nowhere anyway, but they would be like, yeah, you on the dome. Because if we on a flat surface and a dome, like they talking about like a firmament. Now, I don't know where Lord Jamar would get it from, but I guess a lot of flat earthers are religious. So for them, it's God that would put that there. But if you're not religious and you don't believe in no mystery God, then that would mean that that's man-made. That means we in captivity. Like we all real slaves for real. So nah, God, come on, man.
God, now Cipher, God.
But
now Cipher. And are you really using that as your logic to say that it does?
Oh my God. I know he didn't just say that. Are you really using that as your logic? Are you? The stuff you've been saying, that's just as good as the stuff you've been saying. That's like an anecdotal observation. Well, if they did this, wouldn't they do that? Didn't you just do something like that? I don't even remember what it was. Go ahead.
Doesn't exist. Like, come on, God. Like, that makes no sense.
What I'm saying that it don't exist is because nobody's been there.
They have been there, and they're not going to let you go there. Research it.
Who been there? Who been there, God? Who been there?
Research it.
That goes there. They can turn away, God.
Who's been there?
Oh my God! There you go.
You can apply for a job there. They have cruises.
What I'm saying,
to limited parts of it. We said you can go to limited parts of it. That makes no sense.
What I'm saying that it don't exist is because nobody's been there.
They have been there, and they're not going to let you go there. Research it, God. Research it.
That goes there. They can turn away, God.
What research you do, God? Did you just look at a video? Or did you read the book? Did you read the actual book? Because I know what he's talking about. if he's talking about a person that actually went and saw the ice wall, because somebody else I know was a flat earther was talking about this, and there's some guy that told people supposedly that he went past the ice wall, he saw all types of amazing things after that, but they let him come back, and they wouldn't let him go back. But that's been disproven. The guy is a real guy who traveled to Antarctica, but he didn't see no amazing stuff. They saying that in his diary he wrote all that amazing stuff. It found out that that's not true. Matter of fact, the guy who all these people are quoting is probably the guy that most of the Globers point to as the key flat earther. Is I don't know, some yogi dude that they all be following his words, because God, he's basically parroting all that information that that dude said. I can't remember. I had that up. I think I did. But yeah. So I want to say is it Eric Dubé? Eric Dubé. That's the name that's popping in my head. But he said a lot. I saw somebody breaking down one of his little doc, because he made documentaries about flat Earth. Like I told you, one of them was like 7 hours long, and the guy was watching it, and he was saying that a lot of the stuff that he was debunking, that the dude was doing, it seems like this guy who's that flat earther, whoever that, if it's Dubé, he be making up shit, straight up. He just be making up stuff, because he caught that brother at least 4 or 5 times where when you research stuff and dig deep into the words that he's saying, there's no examples, there's no evidence, there's no proof other than the proof that he's given of the person that he mentioned, of the event that he's saying that happened, shit like that. So no.
Who's been there?
Who's been there?
You can apply for a job there. They have cruises.
What I'm saying is,
yeah, to limited parts of it. We said you can go to limited parts of it.
Listen what I'm saying, God.
I can't go through the whole Antarctica.
Where the crews go? You ain't even asked the guard where they go, and you saying to limited parts.
Trust me. Look up the Antarctica Treaty and what it entails, and how it's illegal to fucking explore.
Okay. Real quick, what we got? I don't even know if I know how to spell Antarctica. How do you spell that? Let me see if it come up. Oh, here you go. I know how to do it. All right. And our treaty was signed in Washington December 1st, December 1st, 1959 by 12 countries whose scientists had been active in and around Antarctica during the International Geophysical Year of 1957 through 1958. It entered into force in 1961 and has since been I don't know what that means. Vacated, and by many other nations. I'm assuming that means accepted. The total number of parties in the treaty is now 58. Some important provisions of the treaty shall be used for peaceful purposes, freedom of scientific investigation in Antarctica, and cooperation toward the end shall continue. Scientific observations, results from Antarctica shall be exchanged and made freely available. So I'm assuming the God would say they wouldn't show you. If they probably wouldn't. If they were being conspiratorial, they wouldn't probably show that conspiratorial stuff on the website, right? Let's see if Wikipedia says. Yeah, treaty. Notes between governments, cooperation. All right, yeah, I'm pretty sure we're gonna find it. We ain't gonna find it. Okay. All right, we won't find anything because even if, like I said, if they were being conspiratorial, they wouldn't put it out.
Antarctica. Well, if you get on a plane and you go west, if you get on a plane and you go west, what I'm saying is, where's the end? Where would you end?
I got a question.
God, all they do is go in a circle. When they say, look at this, look at this is how they fly around the world. Okay? Look at this plate. It's like it's just going around. They're not going around like this.
Is that a specialized weed trade for flat earthers, or is that just a specialized?
That's how you fly around the earth. It's like this, not like this.
So there is no north and south. There is no north and south on your flat earth.
No, and there is no on yours either, because check it out.
See, look, go check it out.
How come all compasses point north? Even when you're south of the equator, there is no compass that points south. Even when you're south of the equator,
compass that points south. You get a compass, but there's a reason. I don't know the reason offhand, but there's a reason, and that doesn't disprove a globe, though. That example doesn't disprove a globe. So all his proofs and validation of show and proving is invalid because it's not testable. Like, I can't use what you saying and go research on my own to figure that out. Like, even if I go get a compass and it's pointing north, what is that telling me? That's not telling me that the earth is flat just because you said it. Come on, man. And just because you keep talking over and cutting people's bills, man, where's the God that
all compasses point north? Why is that?
If it was a globe,
because there is no.
Let's get order. Let's get order. Let's get order. Let's do it.
Can you explain why it's warm on the northern hemisphere and it's cold on the southern hemisphere simultaneously?
Okay. He asked a question, Jamal. Lord Jamal.
Say that again, God.
How can you explain why there's on the northern hemisphere there's winter and on the southern hemisphere there's summer simultaneously?
Okay.
So that speaks to what we just saw with the 24-hour sun. So it's 24-hour sun. That's I think that's winter for them. It could be summer. I can't remember which because it's ice and cold, and the same thing in the north. But when they were having the 24-hour sun, the north was having the 24-hour of darkness. You know, because of the shape of the earth, because of the tilt of the earth. Because we rotate around the sun, we rotate around the sun. So that's kind of what he's alluding to. He didn't get to the specifics, but I think the Master Freedom of Law did later on. But God,
path of the sun, God.
God,
if you look at
the path
if the land is laid out and the sun is at this point, this part of the area will have summer. The opposite of it will have winter.
So are you saying
if you look at it in a like I tried to show you, like let's say with this ashtray, right? So now we know that the sun
help him out, AD.
makes its way around the outer part, and then it comes towards the inner part, and then it makes its way back towards the outer part, and then that's how you get the different seasons and all of that. And especially the middle is where the North Pole and all of that. So that when you have 24 hours of sunlight and all of that, that's because the sun is on the most inner part of the circle that we're talking.
God. All right, I'm gonna stop it there. It's 30 minutes, 54 seconds. I come back, but I'm gonna end it with this other one because I was just watching it. One of the Globers explain how the flat earthers believe this, but this is what the God was talking about. Okay, this is Brother Dave McKeegan. Check out Bro channel, man.
Tracking different objects over a flat Earth map. The results are quite eye-opening, I think. There was a recent video from Eric Dubé, who, he claimed he was reading an essay by William Carpenter from 1895, but I can't actually find any record of this essay, so I don't know if it's Carpenter's.
Again, stuff that he be putting out, only he got. So he like the man. He done found all the secret notes and shit, but nobody else got access to. Yeah, some random dude who's a yogi.
His words or Eric's.
Whatever.
Either way, they're quite ironic.
The astronomers now teach that the sun's distance from the Earth is from 92 to 93 million miles,
Right, baby.
whereas it is proved to be under 2,400 miles. Modern astronomy...
We just watched the video of the brothers who did the skydive at 127,000 feet and 135,000 feet. He's saying that the sun is, what? How many miles?
400 miles. Modern astronomy and its crafty 3 million miles, whereas it is proved to be under 2,400 miles.
2,000 miles. Wouldn't they have felt the heat from that? Wouldn't the sun would burn you? But I don't know. Maybe they got a different type of sun.
Modern astronomy and its crafty or most deluded sycophants teach that the sun is stationary and the center of the planetary or celestial bodies, and that it is over 1 million miles larger than the Earth, whereas it is not 1,000th part of its size.
From people who say you shouldn't just believe what you're told to believe and that you should do your own research, comes 10 minutes of random assertions with absolutely no evidence to support them, just claims, opinions, and random memes, basically telling people what they should believe.
That's why I can't watch it.
But there was one bit in particular that sparked my interest, where they were talking about how seasons would work on a flat Earth.
Is constantly moving in spiral orbits, round and over the face of the motionless Earth, increasing the latitude of those orbits about 10 or 11 miles every day, from June to December, and decreasing them in the same proportion from December to June.
Now, this alone I find quite amusing, because I've seen flat earthers argue that space can't be real because having an atmosphere next to a vacuum with no barrier would apparently break Newton's second law of thermodynamics. But having a sun that can not only drift its orbital path, but also speed up on a larger orbit, directly breaks Newton's laws of motion, unless there are some forces acting up on.
How in the hell, or what is making it so that the sun stays in that consistent spiral? Because, like he's going to say later, it has to speed up to keep the same speed and time to give everybody the right seasons. At some point, it has to speed up. It has to slow down when it gets in the center, and as it get out to the outside, it has to speed up. What is causing that? Is it alive? Is it man-made? Come on, bro.
On the sun to repeatedly change its movement and its speed. A force that isn't gravity, since, that apparently doesn't exist.
Don't exist.
But the bit that really caught my eye was that in both of those clips, the moon remains directly opposite the sun throughout. And this is something I've seen in many different flat Earth examples before. Except we've all seen the moon in the middle of the day. So the moon can't remain directly opposite the sun at all times, otherwise we'd only ever see it at night and it would always appear in exactly the same point in the sky.
All right. So that's enough of that. Yeah, look, man. I am interested to see if, obviously I know that none of these gods got through to him, but I am interested to see how much information he dismissed and maybe get some more insight into why he believed what he believed. And I hope you know that he believes it, because he hasn't proved anything. And he needs to. He absolutely needs to, because, like I said, if you are right, Lord Jamal, we need a new book. It's time to do some editing and changing and shit. And I'm up for change as long as it's right. If you got the proof, then show them proof. All right, keep up.